Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to episode number 59 of Legends in Leadership. We're a little bit short-staffed today. We've got a couple of the Carrington boys under the weather. That seems to be the common theme right now.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
It is for sure. So it's always great to be on the show with Dr. Blair Ritchie, who's the Executive Director of the International Student Foundation. And we like to kick off our show with a little bit of leadership trivia. We are fascinated by the stories of leaders who, like us, come from humble beginnings and then rise up to become leaders of influence in other people's lives. So, Dr. Blair, what do you have teed up for us today?
I got a good one, and I think our guest might have a better chance than you getting it, but let's see. We'll kind of tee it up this way.
I guess since Kyle's not here, then automatically we got to lean on the guest.
Here we go. Today's legendary leader turns the ripe old age of 94 today. And he and his wife operate the Olympian Ranch out in Gordon, Texas, where he actually breeds miniature horses. But in his prime, he was the only Olympian athlete to win back-to-back gold medals in the pole vault. At the age of 20, he was ordained a minister in the Church of the Brethren, earning him the nickname, the Vaulting Vicar. Isn't that a great name? The Vaulting Vicar. He was the first athlete ever to appear on the front of a Wheaties cereal box back in 1958. He would become known for his motivational speaking and actually had a significant impact on the life of a young coach by the name of Jim Valvano. In 1984, this leader actually made a run for the presidency as the first presidential candidate of the newly formed Populist Party. He would lose that election to one Ronald Reagan by over 54 million votes.
Oh, that was a close one.
Yeah. He maybe explains why he's raising miniature horses today, right? So who was this legendary leader? At the end of today's program, we'll be back and see what we know about this guy.
The only thing I knew in that whole thing was the great Jimmy V. The great Jim Valvano.
Well, Wheaties, right?
Well, and Wheaties.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's probably the Vaulting Victor.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Oh, my gosh, we've already answered it.
Dang.
We didn't even wait to the end of the show.
Dang. I get it.
I'm excited about today's guest, Timothy Klund. TK is a United States Air Force veteran. He's regarded as one of the top industry leaders as a relationship specialist in the world of corporate and sports marketing.
Yep.
He is a leading authority when working with professional athletes and celebrities on their personal name branding campaigns and potential endorsement opportunities. He's got another neat little company we were talking about before the show called Verve, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, but it's products that enhance performance protection and recovery for our bodies. Now, here's what Dr. Blair and I were talking about pre-show. I love this. He's got a book that says, Stop Whining and Start Winning.
Love that.
And I got to tell you, that's probably one of the best book titles I've heard in 2020. I want to just post that all over the office. But it's really about focusing on helping individuals get out of their current personal rut and get back on track to winning, right, and reaching their goals. He's also very involved in the celebrity community. Brought us some pretty cool stuff up as well for his Red River celebrity softball game that he has that I want to get into a little bit later on. But has teamed up with a lot of celebrities, folks of the likes of Roger Clemens and Toby Keith and Matthew McConaughey to create this really great event to kick off the Texas-Oklahoma Red River shootout each year. Overall, TK, you're just involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff in the charitable community. But I wanted to just say, first off, thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you guys for having me today.
It's
awesome.
So
I'm finally on the Legends. Here we go.
You made it, baby.
That's right. He'll be a legend whether he likes it or not. That's for sure. So let's just start from the beginning. I mean, everybody has the first chapter in their book, in their story,
Yeah.
and so I kind of want to flip backwards to chapter 1 for you, and tell us kind of how did this whole thing get started, and tell us a little bit about your earlier childhood days.
Yeah. So, everybody, first chapter in my book actually is success is by design, right? And that's really what life is. It's really about the people who are designing you, whether it's your parents, your coaches, your teachers, especially at an early age. And for me, I had a lot of influence really once I got into the Air Force in my young career and from there. But yeah, I grew up in Scott City, Missouri, which is about 8 miles south of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Which most people know better, Rush Limbaugh's from.
Rush.
So, super Rush. And so I grew up there, had a great childhood. Really want to go play college football out of high school. I had a lot of fun while I was in high school in the 80s. And when we really sat down to talk about it, I would have had to go to JUCO first. And I was telling my dad about it. And right after the Christmas holiday, and he said, I'm going to take you, and I know some people will hire you, and we'll go get you a job. And I was just still thinking, okay, well, I get a job, and I'm still going to college. And the next day, he took a day off, which was very it never happened for him to take a day off. So he took a day off, and we went in, and we pulled up in front of the Armed Forces recruiters, and he was like, good news is they're all hiring. The even better news is I'm going to let you pick which one you want. And, my grandfather retired as a drill sergeant from the Army. My dad had retired as an MP from the Army. I'm sorry, didn't retire, but he did 4 years as an MP in the Army. He was a veteran. And but the one thing, no offense to my Army guys, what I was looking at them is they just, they didn't really have a lot of skills coming out. And for what they end up, they just were laborers afterwards. And my uncle was a World War II veteran in the Air Force, and he had done really well with his career after he came home from World War II. So it was kind of like, let's go talk to the Air Force. And once we got done talking to him, and probably one of the greatest salespeople, you got Zig Ziglar, and then you got my Air Force recruiter, I think. But he was like, oh my God, yeah, you can play sports, you're gonna have a great time in the Air Force, you're gonna travel, if they would have had the number one foam finger, and that's when they used to give you a bunch of gear on the way out. My dad and I had hats, and I think we had a sweatshirt, some T-shirts, but if they would have had the number one foam finger on the way out, we'd have been walking out that door with that too.
Yeah.
And but I was only 17 when I graduated high school. May of 1988, I was 17. I turned 18 in October of that year, and I was actually in basic training September 11th of 88. So my dad had to sign for me to go in, and probably the best thing, honestly, one of the best things my dad probably could have helped me from a mentor standpoint, because I was just young, reckless, didn't have a lot of structure. My dad was just pretty much like, just don't be too much of an idiot. If I get a knock on the door from the policeman, then it's a wrap. Beyond that, just behave. And so again, I had way too much rope growing up to play with. And but yeah, got into the Air Force and was stationed in the Philippines first, which was awesome experience. Really just eye-opening, life-changing experience. When you go off base, you're on a country club, but then you go off, you see everybody living in tin huts and cardboard huts, and it's just the little kids that come up to you with no shoes on, and giving them a peso is like life-changing to them, right? Giving them 100 pesos, which was like $5, is like probably their parents' week's salary almost. It's crazy. So that was a great time, great experience. And then from there I went to Colorado Springs and Peterson Air Force Base, which was awesome. Colorado Springs is still one of my favorite cities on the planet. I was actually born in Denver, Colorado, because where my dad was stationed in the Army. And so yeah, I loved it. And I had a great career. I pretty much played sports my whole career. We had Desert Storm, but that was a blank. So Desert Storm kicked off after I'd already had my orders in the Philippines. So by the time I got to my next duty assignment in the States, it was pretty much already over with. So the rest of the time, it was just peacetime. No more job. I was an electrician. I did high voltage. So it was just go to work from 7 to 4 every day.
Don't make a mistake there, right?
Do not make a mistake.
That's
I've seen a few mistakes. Luckily, it wasn't me who made them, but yeah, it's not a pretty sight.
So 6 years, I understand.
Yep,
in
6.5 years.
6.5 years, and then you come out, and then what's next?
So during that time, it was in mid-'90s. President Clinton was in. They did the early outs, and again, I had a commander that wasn't overly happy with me being gone all the time playing softball, and kind of caught me in the hallway coming back, and he was like, are you going to make a career out of that? And, of course, being the smart aleck that I was at that time, and probably still am, I was like, it's probably going to depend on this conversation. And he was like, do you think you can get somebody to write you a letter to get a job or, to go to college? And I was like, well, I'd love to go play college football. And my little brother had just finished his sophomore year at Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau, and I think he had finished like maybe somewhere All-American or an honorary All-American, somewhere like that. And so we actually went up to his office, called Coach Mumford, John Mumford, who was head coach at the time, and, what was your SAT, what was this, what was that? And I told him about, the one semester of college I took in the Air Force. And he was like, oh, yeah, Klund, you can come here and walk on. So literally within a week, I was out with an honorable discharge and on my way back home to get ready to play college football. And then while I was at home, working part-time jobs, kind of being almost a college student, really kind of just letting my hair down and kind of enjoying the not being so overly structured a little bit. Again, my brother and all his fraternity brothers and football players are all in college, so I was running around with them a lot. And one of my older friends who I grew up under was like, what are you going to school for? And I was like, well, I want to do something in sales and marketing. He's like, well, why are you wasting your time going to school? Why don't you just come and work for me? And I was like, what are you doing now? And he's selling mobile homes. Mm-hmm. After I got off the ground laughing, I was like, man, I'm going to go play college football. I'm going to college. Well, the very next day I was talking to my brother about it, and he was like, well, you're a walk-on. You're not going to see the field for a while. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you're a walk-on. Scholarship guys play first. So then I started thinking, well, I'll be 25 this fall. By the time I'm done, I'm 28, 29. So I ended up calling my friend back. He's like, hey, come, let's go have some lunch. I'll show you what's going on. So I went back to his location the next day for lunch. Manufactured homes were amazing. It wasn't like the trailers I grew up in where the wind's blowing this way and your curtains are stuck on that side of the house. So, so they were absolutely amazing in the way they were being made. And then when I saw what he was making, which was in '94 about probably close to $90,000 a year, he started throwing me his monthly pay stubs. And I had just finished the Air Force after 6.5 years. I think I was making $14,000 a year.
Right.
I was like, how fast can you get me hired? Right. And so I went and talked to Coach Mumford and said, hey, Coach, here's kind of where I'm at. What do you think? And he was like, Klund, if you can go make that type of money, you don't have to rack up student loan debt and beat your body up, like 100%. That's the direction you need to go. So, I was more worried about him being upset with me, because he went through a lot to get me there. Mm-hmm. And then it literally was either we're starting 2 days or I'm starting to sell manufactured homes. And the next day I was selling manufactured homes. And lucky for me, the cool thing is I get to show my kids. It was so far along, I was in the program the entire year, the Southeast Missouri State football program. That's how far along it was. So I kind of have almost like a half check on that. Like I was on the roster. I still got some of my gear, but I never played. So went manufactured homes and then just escalated success. That's what brought me down here in 99 with Oakwood Homes, which is a Fortune 500 company at the time, running a couple lot locations. And then in 2000, I was in a car accident in West Fort Worth and fell asleep driving home late one night from a district manager meeting. And, had to be care flighted, died 4 times, had to have my face replaced.
Wow.
On my 30th birthday, which was October 13th, Friday 13th, 2000, was when they actually replaced my whole head. It's all titanium around here. And having a Catholic mother, a little superstitious, like, this is not a good deal, don't do it. And it's like, it's going to be all right, don't worry. What's the worst thing you do? You die and go to heaven? Okay, I'll take that too. So either way, it's going to work out. So we did that, and then while I was recovering, it's kind of like, what am I going to do now? The 7 days a week thing is just, it was a big life changer for me to realize, like, there's more to life than just this. And 2 things happened while I was in the hospital, because, I wasn't college educated and I always felt like corporations were doing me a favor by hiring me. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my mindset. Like, I'm lucky that they're letting me work here. My mom, I was telling my mom, like, she's like, are you going to go back? No, because they're going to have to find somebody to replace me now in that position, and I'm either going to have to go down a notch, or I'm going to have to relocate. And my wife's not relocating. And I was kind of woe is me, and my wife said, I would think they would be more worried about you leaving than you worried about leaving, because I know what you're making. So for what you're making, you got to be making them a bunch of money. So I would think they'd be more worried about you leaving. And that was probably the first time that I really realized my worth of like, let me think about this. So then while I was sitting at home trying to decide what I want to do, I was off for about 4 months waiting for the bells in my head to quit ringing. my wife came in one day, and I was watching Jerry Maguire, and, hey, you going back to the mobile home lot? Or, no, I'm done with mobile homes. What are you going to do? And I'm like, I really don't know. And I was like, I think I'm going to be a Jerry Maguire.
Oh, boy.
And she was like, oh, okay, well, we might need to go back to the doctor because you don't have a degree. You don't even know an athlete. Like, do we have any realistic opportunities that you're thinking you might want to do? And I was like, I just want to do something that I would be passionate about. I would have fun doing that. I think I'd be pretty good at it. And then about less than a year later, not even that, not a couple months, a friend of mine called and said, hey, you going back to mobile homes? No, hey, we're starting a new industry. This new industry is kicking up debt settlement. We have a VP now. Come in here and learn it within 90 days. He's moving out. We're going to move you up. About the same time as when I met my first athlete, Lemuel Stinson from Chicago Bears, and just by chance. And, he was like, hey, I want you to start handling all my stuff. And actually, when he did tell me that, the reality hit in, and I was like, man, you know what? I don't know anything about this, and I wouldn't want you and your family to put your financial future in my hands that you're retired now, because I wouldn't want to drop the ball on you. And he was like, no, listen, I'll teach you everything you need to know. You just get us in, and we'll split everything 50-50. And I was like, man, you can keep all of it. I just, I got a good paycheck, but if you're willing to take a chance, I'm in. So he and I started doing stuff together, and he started introducing me to other people like Super Bowl MVP Larry Brown. It kind of took off from there. And then I did a Super Bowl party in 2005 in Jacksonville with a production group, friends of mine, and Darren Woodson introduced me to Julius Jones at that Super Bowl party, who just finished his rookie year. And then that's how I started working with all the current guys, because then Julius Jones and I started doing stuff. Then he started introducing me. And then guys go to other teams. And then being here in Dallas, Fort Worth, there's so many athletes and celebrities that come through here or are here. And so it just kept expanding from there. And so I had kind of two careers going at the same time in the early 2000s. So I was doing stuff with athletes, again, helping them with their brand. A lot of them I was bringing to Big Brothers Big Sisters, because I was on their board at that time here in DFW. And then we would go to, by being involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, a lot of their corporate sponsors would say, hey, can we get so-and-so to come to our car dealership, or can we get them to come to our corporate office? So it just kind of expanded from there. And then in 2008, we back up 1 year, in 2007, because of the economy was already on the downslope and people were getting laid off, my shareholders decided to lay off one of our VP of customer service. Great guy, was actually there before I was, and he was 55 years old. And when I went in to calm him down, he was just beside himself. And I was talking to him. I was like, man, calm down. You're a stud. You're going to be okay. You're going to find something. That was the second thing that hit me really hard in life. My mom, number one. Him, number two. He's like, look, I'm 55 years old. And I've missed my kids' birthday parties. I've missed vacations with my family. I've sacrificed everything for these corporates. And, I have done every single thing I can to make them wealthy. And I'm out. And who's going to hire me now at this point? Who's going to, he was making just over six figures. And he's like, where am I going to go find that job? I'm financially done. And he was like, Klund boy, don't let this happen to you. I was 37 at the time. He's like, you have so much going on. Don't get sucked into this deal here, because you're going to get to a point you can't turn around. You can't get back, and you're stuck. And then you're going to end up like me. You're going to be making too much money, and then you're out. And so that hit me real hard. And then probably over the next 9 months, it was just struggling with it. And again, we were doing national media, and that was during the time of the presidential campaign for 2008. At the same time, so our media costs were going through the roof. Last thing people were worried at that point is trying to get out of debt. Most people were losing their jobs. They were financially done. So then on June 1st, I get a call from a shareholder about 10:30 at night. He's like, hey, bro, can you come in here early tomorrow morning, like 7 o'clock, and meet with everybody? We want to talk to you about some things. So I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. And I'm thinking, well, my time's up, So it was kind of like, okay, I felt actually really good. And so I go in to see him, and it was just the opposite. They're like, hey, we need to get rid of about half this company. You hired most of them. Most of them. Who are we getting rid of?
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of like, I'm not going to get rid of, it's probably 90, 100 people at that point. And it's like, I'm not firing anybody. And they were like, and one of the shareholders was like, well, if you don't fire somebody, we'll get somebody who will. And that's when I was like, that's a great idea. Start with my salary, and that should save a lot of jobs for a little while. And why don't you do it? If you had any real guts, you'd do it yourself. But I'm not firing anybody. We hired them. It was our job to protect them and their families, and I'm out of here. So that was it. Came home about 1 o'clock that day, And my wife's like, hey, what are you doing home? Oh, yeah, by the way, I resigned today.
Oh,
And
gosh.
she was like, what are we planning on doing? I was like, and at that point I was like, I'm Tim Klund. Don't worry about it. We got tons of stuff going on. Everything dried up. Worst of the worst. I mean, we just got our rear end handed to us financially over 2 years. And it just finally one day, just like, I'm done even fighting all this. We lose everything. We lose it. Just hit my knees. And I was like, I've been going around this the wrong way. I was like, what, God, I'm going to let you have it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm done dealing with it, worrying about it. It's up to you, big dog. And I needed probably about $10,000 that day to save my family's house, everything. And two things happened. That afternoon, I got 2 phone calls. I got one phone call from one of my friends, said, hey, we're launching, who played in the NFL, said, we're launching a mouthpiece company, Performance Mouthpiece. I need you in South Lake on Friday. And I was like, I'm not coming to South Lake, but thanks for calling me. I got a second phone call from a friend going, hey, I'm getting ready to go to camp, played for the Cowboys, who is current, said, hey, come have lunch with me. And I said, man, let me call you back. Let me see if I can clear my schedule tomorrow. Because, even when you're getting your rear end kicked, you still got to keep your brand high. People can't tell. They don't need to know you're getting your rear end kicked.
Yep.
So it's really such a juggling act. It's so hard to just keep everything above ground and still try to do what you do to survive. And so anyway, I called him back. And actually I had to run out and see if I had enough gas to get to Dallas and back. And I called him back, said, okay, I'll come over and have lunch. It's kind of like, to me, last supper, last rites. And so we went and had lunch, and we were talking, and he said, hey, come in, let's play some Xbox, whatever it was at the time, and play some Madden. And it's like, man, I'm just going to head back to Fort Worth. And he's like, no, come in, I got to give you something. So we go in his big office, throws this book open, writes his check out, folds it up a couple of times, gives it to me. I was like, nah, we're good. He's like, bro, all the stuff we've ever done, you've never charged me, ever. And he's like, I know you're getting your rear end kicked. Like everybody is. I know it. And this is just a little bit. So then I did tell him what was going on. And he was like, if you ever need anything, come to me first. Don't put yourself in this position anymore. Like, you've done a lot for me, and I'm not going to let you. You're not going downhill. Just come to me. And I got in the truck, driving home, opened it, pulled that check out of my pocket, $10,000 to the penny.
Wow.
And I didn't ask him for $10,000. That's what he gave me. So then it was kind of like, also like, okay, God, you do got this. We're good. And then since then, it's been kind of like everything else, just escalator all the way up. And, then we went from there and then kind of started getting into different groups, started recruiting me to the different mouthpiece companies. We created our own mouthpiece company in 2010, PX3 Brain Science, one of the top products on the market, had over 400 top athletes wearing it, but it was $800. And I went to my partner in 2016 and said, hey, we need to get this down to about a $40 product. And he was like, man, I'll never do that, TK. We're always going to keep this high end. I was like, you know what? You can buy me out. Appreciate you. I love you. I'm done with this. And that was at the end of 2016. 17, I ended up writing Stop Whining, Start Winning, because a little bit was on me. The publishing company Tactical 16, who are great friends of mine, said, hey, man, you need to write a book about your life. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, no, come on. And they're used to publishing some great autobiographies, some great American heroes. And I'm going, I don't fit in that great combat American hero story. And I ended up writing it. It was very therapeutic. But then when I reread it, I was like, this story sucks. It's about me. There's no way I'm printing this. So I called him and said, dude, I wrote it. It sucks. I'm not doing it. And he was like, no. I'm telling you, you're out doing these speaking engagements. You're doing this, you're doing that. You need a book. I said, if you let me write a book, like a self-help book, of kind of how I got from A to B, you let me write something like that, I'm in. And he was like, go ahead. And so we wrote Stop Whining, Start Winning. Did very, very well in 2017. They had brought a new editor in. She called me one day and said, hey, I love your book. Have you ever thought about making it a workbook that people can actually put their notes in? No, ma'am. Well, I think we need to re-release this as a 2.0 and make it a workbook. So we did that. It's been doing great. We did that the middle of last year. Of 19, and it's been doing unbelievable. And it's on Amazon.com. It's not even that expensive. And my publishers are always up my rear end because I don't do enough to promote it, but it still does very well just through social media, friends and family. And we did that. And then another partner of mine, people kept calling me about come join us in the mouthpiece industry. And I hung up the phone one night. My wife's like, I don't know why you just don't do your own. It's ridiculous. Like, you partner up with people, and they've got the majority in the decision making, and you're the one raising money, you're doing this, you're doing that, but you still don't have total control. I don't know why you just don't do your own company. And he was like, babe, come on. Like, here's a lady who's been since 2008 going, please go back to the corporate world. Like, just please go back. Like, just surrender the entrepreneurship thing and just go back. And now all of a sudden I've got this same lady going, hey, go for it. And so that was a game changer. And again, we had been doing the Red River Celebrity Softball game and with Matthew and Toby and Roger and their foundations. And that was growing and having fun. And so then it was like, how do I surround myself with the top people? So that's what I started looking at, and I called a few people that were top of their game, and they were like, oh, TK, we're in with you. And so my partner, Michael Bloom and Raj, they jumped in and started putting everything together. And then 2019, while we're going through our raise, CBD, the Farm Bill passed. Mm-hmm. Then I had another veteran friend call me and go, hey, can we put CBD in your guys' bags? It's all passed. It's all legal now. I'm like, legal now? You've been sending me this stuff for a year. And he's like, nobody's going to kick your front door in over a bottle of CBD. I'm like, okay, well, you're focused on this. Why don't we all team up and get the athletes and everybody involved? And after about 3 weeks, my partner Raj and I just kind of talked to each other and said, we just need to, again, control our own destiny. Let's just create our own brand. Went to the farm, worked the deal out. We're directly with the partners with the farm, so they handle all of our fulfillment. So really, you can trace it from the seed to the bottle on all of our products. And then again, we got in this industry to help the veteran community and everybody really. I mean, veteran suicides through the roof. It's 22, 24 per day. A lot of that in my professional athletes that are retired, the suicide rate's going up. Suicide rate in children is through the roof. And suicide as a whole in the national community is 129 people per day. And I think a lot of that goes back to, especially with the veteran community and the athletic community and talking to my friends, is all the pills. I was just with a retired Dallas Cowboy player who won a Super Bowl with them, the second Super Bowl out of 3. And he was telling me that he takes 8 pills 3 times a day. That's about the normal for a lot of those guys. My veteran guys take anywhere from 8 to 10 pills 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. All those chemicals in your body is not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Then if you add alcohol or any type of other substance, man, you're all over the place. Yeah. And then even if they're off their meds, their bodies, there's another side of that coin, right? So it's kind of like everybody's bipolar all of a sudden. So it's just kind of crazy. CBD has been shown to help a lot of those individuals that are taking a lot of prescription meds to be able to get off those meds and get their lives back. And most of veterans actually before CBD was even legal, would smoke marijuana. They just didn't realize, like, I got to get off these pills. So they would go to smoking marijuana to help with the aches and pains and all the stuff they dealt with. But then A personality is not functioning. Right. They're just hanging out all day. They're like, I can't do marijuana. So then what was the next option? CBD. And CBD was the one that kind of brought everything home for a lot of those guys and girls to help them get their lives back, to get their bodies back in check without all the prescription meds. Yeah. And the same thing with my pro athletes. It's been the same thing. And then I also work with kids that have Down syndrome, autism. We have a bunch of them. My mom has Parkinson's. She's 73. She uses it, loves it. It's done amazing in helping her. And actually, she's gotten off some of her prescription meds by using it. And then we have a tub tonic that unfortunately, friends of mine that are dealing with chemotherapy or whatnot, that their hardest thing is to sleep. So we have kind of like a bath salt that's like Calgon on steroids. Put 3 little scoops of this bath salt in, take a bath about 20 minutes before you go to bed. You're done. You're sleeping like a baby all night. Friends with fibromyalgia in their legs, same thing, take a bath, and they're taking drops. So it's just an amazing, all-natural product that helps so many people. We couldn't resist. And we're the only company in the United States that I know of that gives veterans, first responders, law enforcement, all their families 50% off 24/7, 365, and they don't have to put any information in to get it. Just go. Here's your code. Yeah. Go get it. And most of the time we're giving 50% off anyway, because we know people can't always afford it, but they need it. Yeah. So it's just like, use 50% code. Go get your help. So there's a lot of things going on. Then we got the Memorial Day Celebrity Softball game, our second year coming up. We started that game because my friends and celebrities that aren't OUUT, that didn't go to OUT, were complaining, guys and girls, this stinks. You got a game for them. Where's our game? So then we did a game last year for Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day celebrity softball game, and it's a co-ed game of just a gumbo pot of everybody. And then this year we actually So after last year, then all my veteran friends started calling me. Well, this stinks. You got everybody. We're not playing. No, we're not letting us play no more. Okay, so now we got a celebrity co-ed softball game before the actual celebrity co-ed game, May 16th this year at Grand Prairie Air Hogs, which would be a lot of fun. So you're talking 80 to 100 celebrities, veteran influencers, all in one place. And I love it because, even with the OUT game, I know everybody on both teams, but it's a great opportunity to let everybody get to meet everybody else, especially in the Memorial Day game. So, yeah, tons of stuff going.
Wow. Yeah, TK's in Legends in Leadership history. I'm curious on a couple of things that I heard that I'd love your insight on. You talk about celebrities and taking care of their life, and everybody knows the story of athletes and